What Barbie really represents. In the Barbie movie, we are quickly met with a very strong and diverse group of Barbies. We are shown a black Barbie, a disabled Barbie, and a wider set Barbie. But the issue arises in the fact that in spite of their perceived setbacks, they are all extremely extraordinary, almost too extraordinary. Now this may seem at first glance a good thing to showcase. Strong, independent boss Barbies, right? However, the Barbie movie can be shown to not support this idea. The main message of the Barbie movie would come to be that it is okay to be ordinary, that you don't have to be pressured into being this amazing feminist boss babe icon that modern society pressures young women into being. Another critique of Barbie, or more specifically Mattel, is through a scene in the Mattel headquarters in which it is portrayed the contrast between the office of the FBI and the office of Mattel. The office of the FBI has much more color than Mattel, to which I can only guess is showing that a company that is meant to be a beacon and a spokesperson for women's hopes and dreams is actually quite dull and lifeless. They are a fake woke money-greedy company that wishes to profit off of women. The proof of this is shown when Will Ferrell's character rejects the idea that Mattel is a money-greedy corporation when it was Ken House's selling.
What does it matter if it's Barbie or Ken? The money is pouring in.
Shame on you, executive number 2!
But towards the end of the movie becomes money greedy when, after first rejecting the idea of ordinary Barbie, only accepts it after hearing that it would make money.
What about ordinary Barbie?
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's going to make money.
Oh, ordinary Barbie, I love it.
This, I feel, portrays the idea that Mattel very intentionally wishes to exclusively make money from young women and perhaps even promote insecurities within them. We also find that Barbie's journey is one of anti-boss babe themes. She literally becomes extremely depressed at the end of the movie and loses all the things that made her a stereotypical Barbie, but the movie shows that it is fine, that the world is hard and that it's okay to lean on people, that you don't have to be some independent boss girly pop. Finally, we come to one of the more interesting events that happen in the movie, when the Barbies very easily relinquish power to the Kens, when Ken brought patriarchy. This was done very deliberately, I believe. I interpret this as being that even though these women can become successful and powerful, they are still very susceptible to men taking advantage of them, which was portrayed through these very successful Barbie women becoming brainless and subservient to the Kens, in spite of achievements like being president or earning a Nobel Prize, for example. Still not convinced this film is anti-woke and anti-modern feminism? Anti-woke and anti-feminist. Before I dive into what Ken really represents, I want to have this section to highlight the many subtle digs at feminists and woke leftists hidden in this movie. First, we'll start off with the obvious satire of a leftist, which is portrayed by the character Sasha, the daughter of America Ferrera's character. When Barbie comes up to her in school, she literally just yaps buzzwords at Barbie, just pure leftist mouth diarrhea.
Represent everything wrong with our culture. Sexualized capitalism. You destroy girls' innate sense of worth, and you kill them with passion.
But the key moment takes place when she literally silences her own friend's opinion on Barbie. Sasha, who is meant to be a feminist character, shuts down other women's voices who don't agree with her.
I loved Barbie. Oh. Anyways, even then it was horrible for us.
Sound like a particular American group? The movie goes on to expose her character even further in the scene where she and her mother are in the car and Barbie is being ushered into a Mattel truck. She literally calls Barbie a nut job and then corrects herself to say reality challenge woman, since in the new woke culture you can't call people crazy anymore.
Thank God they arrested that nut job. That reality challenged woman.
The movie again makes fun of her character towards the end when she cheers for Barbie and calls her white savior, when it was her mother that actually gave the speech. She is woke, but her gut reaction is to praise the supposed white savior instead of her own mother. Moving on to Sasha's mother, we would see her give a famous speech that was used to deprogram the other Barbies. In this speech, she very obviously calls out woke leftists that say wanting to be skinny is fatphobic. Yes, there are people who believe that. In which she says,
You can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy.
Please tell me if I'm wrong in this interpretation. It also calls out the more unattractive women of the friend groups who bring down the pretty ones.
You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood.
This movie is full of these realities and I missed them on my first viewing and I imagine others did too. Also, anybody else pick up on the line where Ruth Handler says that she works best at kitchen tables? Is it me or is it literally saying that it's okay for women to be in the kitchen? I mean, come on guys. what Ken really represents.
Ken!
Most people would assume that Ken represents women, but it's only in some ways that Ken is used for that. But his real purpose is to expose the fact that the patriarchy doesn't exist. Ken's love for Barbie and his need for Barbie was largely a lesson for women who identify themselves around men. Women who make their man a part of their identity. Women who make their celebrity crush their entire identity. I can't name how many Paul Dano, Josh Hutcherson, Cillian Murphy fangirl TikTok pages I've seen. In this way, Ken is used to represent women who only exist within the gaze of men. Although representing some parts of women, Ken's main purpose was the scenes of him going around the real world and applying the logic of Barbie Land where women rule to the real world where he perceived that men rule. In Barbie Land, it would be as simple as asking for a job and getting it because you're a woman. But in the real world that is perceived as controlled by men, it is not all that easy. Time and time again, Ken is rejected from any job position for simply just being a man, and yet still walks away from his experience in the real world with this very odd version of patriarchy, consisting of horses, fur coats, and mini fridges. It seems as though Barbie uses Ken again to make fun of leftists who have no idea what patriarchy even is. Kentriarchy symbolizes the ridiculous caricature of what woke leftists think patriarchy looks like. Anybody else remember that famous leftist who believed that air conditioning was a part of the patriarchy? One of the final lines in the movie ties everything together. After the Kens get a small step towards equality, the narrator says, "Maybe one day Kens will have as much power as women do in the real world." If this was a woke movie, the line would rather be, "Now Ken has as much power as women do in the real world." Rather, it says the first line very deliberately, because it is literally saying, maybe one day Ken will be equal to Barbie. The movie is saying that women and men are already equal. And I mean, we would have to be equal since it's a very successful woman who directed this film. If you watched the video all the way through, then please tell me in the comments, did I miss something? Or is this one of the most accurate movies on gender equality in a long time, if not forever? Be sure to subscribe. I am only just starting this journey. Check out my other videos if you want.
Sublime!